I'm back. Let's get started. You know the drill. Mic check 1, 2.
This is where truth lives. No filters, no lies.
Welcome to Freedom Uncensored.
What's happening, everybody? Trying to get some things tested out here. So this will be our first live. Hopefully it works out okay. Try and get some things adjusted right here. Hopefully the sound's doing okay. If it's not, somebody let me know in the comments. So hello, welcome to our very first live. Let's see where this goes today. So we want to discuss today the State of the Union by Trump. We want to go over that. Hold on, I gotta set some things here. Okay. All right. Pardon me, like I said, I'm trying to get some things situated here, and it's not going the way I want it to. There we go. All right, so let's go over to State of the Union. I'm going to end up playing some clips, and then I'm going to talk about them. Some of them I'm going to end up pausing, and we're just going to go from there. So if there's a delay in the sound, matching what's on the screen, let me know that too, because I've been having an issue with my delay settings. So again, first live, kind of a test run for being live, and this is a big one because of it's the State of the Union. So let me know what the issues might be. I'll be watching it after I'm done recording. So yeah, we'll figure it out. So anyway, I want to play first video here, which is kind of the whole introduction thing. Let me go to a different screen here. All right, so let's roll this.
Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before.
So what do you think? Is the nation back? What's your pocket telling you? Gas prices are down. Groceries are starting to come down. A lot of stuff is really coming down. It really is. I mean, say what you want about the economy, but things are really starting to come down pretty big. And I think it's working out better for us than what they actually anticipated. Power is an issue. The power is still ridiculous. I know here in Pennsylvania, we'll get into it a little bit later on, but it's the power here is ugh. It's ugh. I think the economy is on track to do better, but I don't think it's doing as good as it could. I think it could be doing much better. I think it could be doing a lot better, actually. I think there's ways that Trump's plans are failing us. Like there's some what ifs going on here as far as him losing this case in the Supreme Court. What's that going to do with having to return, if he has to return, all that billions of money? Um, you know, it could be a bad situation for the economy if he has to do that. It really, I mean, let's just be straight. It really could be. It could really dip us down. But in all in all, I think the economy is on track to do better. I think if we continue on the track that we're doing right now, I think we're going to see prices coming down over the course of the next year. Gas is already down. They're saying that there's a very good possibility that we could see $1.20 for gas again. Man, I haven't seen gas that cheap since I was a kid. I'm 50 years old now. You know, I remember going and getting $5 worth of gas and it'd fill a five-gallon can. So we'll have to see where all that goes, but I'm staying hopeful. Let's get into the next clip here because I got so much running through my head. I gotta have stuff keep me on track. So let's actually just do this because I don't feel like. Boom. Okay. Did it pop up there? There we go. Okay. Let's hit play and I'll shut up for a minute.
But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country.
So there he's talking about our border, you know. He's done a damn good job of closing down the border. He's done a damn good job of closing down the border. I mean, we've had 0 illegal border crossings since he took office. So it shows that we only needed a change of presidents to change that. His immigration as far as ICE being in the streets, I'm going to touch on that briefly real quick. ICE would not be in the streets, people, if the sanctuary cities would stop pulling the bullshit that they've been pulling. Okay? The reason our immigration system has worked so well during the Clinton administration and the Obama administration, which, by the way, I voted for both of those guys. The reason it works so well is because they had offices, ICE offices, in every prison in the United States. They also had offices in a lot of state police barracks across the country. So when an illegal alien was arrested for anything, they were handed over to ICE immediately and deported. That ended when sanctuary cities went into place because these towns and these cities want to protect these illegal aliens and alien criminals, more than they want to protect the citizens in their town. That's just the bottom line. So when you start shutting all that stuff down, ICE still has a job to do. They still have a job to do. They are, for the last 150 years, they are tasked with removing illegal aliens from the country and illegal alien criminals from the country. That's their job, period. It's their only job. When you start blocking them from doing their job, they've got to go out into the streets in order to do it. Same way as police. If you're going to block a police officer from doing his job, he's going to start investigating everywhere. He's going to start talking to neighbors. He's going to start talking to people that you know. I mean, they're going to be in your business. It's no different with ICE, federal law enforcement. To get these illegal aliens and illegal alien criminals out of the United States, they need to be able to do their job the efficient way, the way that they're supposed to be doing their job. You government officials need to get the hell out of the way. It's just that simple, and let the process of what federal law is take place, and then you won't have vice out in the streets. I'm going to turn around and get the next one pulled up here. I should have pulled these things up prior, but I didn't. So shame on me. So let's watch this one. If it'll play. Are you going to play? Hello?
The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly.
I'm going to call him out on some things here. I'm going to rewind this. And we're going to dive into it a little bit more.
The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year.
Now, fentanyl coming across the border being down 56%. That's a damn good thing. I don't know who could argue that. I really don't. I don't know who could be against that, because that means Americans aren't dying. Is it a little out of the norm on how he's taking care of it? It is. It's not the way that, he's operating within the lines of the law, but it's not what we're used to seeing here in the United States out of our politicians. But Donald Trump's not a politician. He's a businessman. We need to get rid of politicians, to be honest. He said when he was elected that he would attack this and that he would get on top of it as quick as possible. And I think having it down 56%, I think that's a damn good record to have. And I would stand on that record all day long, regardless of how he got it down. There's no way that you can argue. There's no way that you can argue anything when it comes down to the fentanyl crossing into the United States. You just cannot defend. You can't, man, this is a tough one. You can't. How do you hate a guy that is stopping drugs from coming into the United States and killing our kids? You've got a mental problem if that's how you want to look at this. You really do. Let's look at the next part of us here.
Here. And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years. That
is true. Not 125 years, but it's the lowest it's been in 100 years. So he's accurate on that, and why should we not be cheering that on? But not a single Democrat stood for that. Why? Because they're on the side of criminals. They've tipped their hand on this so many times it's not even funny. They've tipped their hands to criminals. That's what they want to protect. So they're not going to stand for anything like this. They're not going to support it in any way, shape, or form. And the Republicans are going to be on their own to continue to do this. And you want to know something? They're getting it done without the help of Democrats. Let's go on here.
Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%.
Now, he's a little inaccurate there. And I'm going to call him out on that a little bit. Inflation is down to 2.0. Some argue 2.1. I think I even seen a report this morning. It said 2.2. It's projected to come down to 1.7. But it's not there yet. So he exaggerated and jumped the gun there just a little bit, and that's in Trump fashion. So he did jump there a little bit, and it is coming down to that, but we're not there yet. They're saying another 30 to 60 days, and it'll be down to that. Right now we're sitting, like I said, about a 2.0, 2.2 at the highest, which is still way down from the Biden administration. I mean, the Biden administration was just killing us. So it's down. So that's very helpful to the economy. So let's get into some more of this here.
Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
So just to touch on that, one of the first things that we seen when Biden took over for his presidency was gas prices skyrocketed. I mean, it wasn't over the whole 4 years that he was president either. It was pretty quick. Like I want to say within the first year, gas prices went from where Donald Trump had them low at about $2.30 a gallon to where I lived here, it was $5.40 a gallon. It was unsustainable. It was ridiculous. So to have the gas prices back down to that shows that the Democrats could have done something about gas prices the whole time. We're a year into his presidency, a year into Trump's presidency, and he's got the gas prices down like that again already. It doesn't take much to realize that the Democrats could have done the same damn thing while they were in office. They could have kept the gas prices low. But they didn't. They put a burden on the people of the United States, and they allowed those gas prices to skyrocket. We still have that burden here in the state of Pennsylvania because our asshole governor has the fuel tax so bad, along with other governors that kept putting it up, that the fuel tax is so damn high, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think it's like 45 cents a gallon or something like that in tax here. And it's just bullshit. But to see the gas prices coming down, like this again is fantastic for the economy, and it's fantastic for the people. Let's go on with this clip.
Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
That's just fucking awesome. it's just, I mean, that's just, it's awesome that we have gas down like that. I mean, I'm a truck driver by trade. Um, and fuel is just, it's just an unbelievable thing. I mean, when the fuel costs are high, it costs you more money because it's costing the trucking industry way more to ship anything. Same way by train, it costs you a whole lot more. But because of the gas prices being down and diesel fuel prices being down, your train tickets are down. Your shipping cost of your goods is down. Your travel to and from work costs are down. It just brings a lot of things down when you get those fuel costs down. Now you're going to have some people out there going, "Oh yeah, but what about the environment?" Well, if you want to own an EV, you go buy an EV. If I want to own a diesel truck, I'm going to own a diesel truck. If I want to own a gas truck, I'm going to own a gas truck. That's what's great about this country and individual freedom. You want to own a Tesla? Go buy a Tesla. I don't have nothing against Teslas. I don't have anything against electric cars. If you want to own something like that, you go right ahead. To be honest with you, I'd love to buy a Tesla as a second vehicle. And eventually I'll get there. But right now, my wife absolutely hates them. Can't stand EV cars. So I'm not pushing that. I'm not hitting that go button. Not gonna happen. It's good for the economy to have the gas prices down the way it is. Trump has gained momentum with this State of the Union also. With everything that he had talked about during the State of the Union, it's really taken off. So I want to play another clip. I guess I ought to get this one open. This one's on tariffs, which, oh my God, we'll spend a little bit of time on this one. Tariffs. Say it ain't so. Oh my God, tariffs. We can't have that. No, tariffs are so bad. We can't do tariffs. We'll be discussing that in just a second. Let's watch this. Oops. I guess I got to put it up on the screen, don't I? There we go. Ready?
One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth. And the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful
He don't look happy, does he?
It's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in. Peace protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love. Right? You know,
Tariffs. Tariffs. Nobody wants to talk about tariffs. Like, nobody wants to. Nobody wants to talk about tariffs in a good way. We'll put it that way. So I want to dive into this one pretty hard. So the tariffs are basically a tax on the people. I'll give you that. They're basically a tax on the American people. But here's how the tariffs end up working. So if you're doing business outside of the United States and you're shipping your goods into the United States, you're going to pay a tariff on those goods. Okay. Let's dive back even further than that. Let's actually go back even further than that. After World War II happened, other countries were not as rich as the United States. They were not in as good of condition as the United States. Why was the United States in such a good condition? Because 90% of what we used came from our own country. We made everything. Everything was made here. Our tanks were made here. Our targeting systems were made here. Everything was made here in the United States. All of our steel was here in the United States. We hardly imported anything. 90% of your imports were shit like fancy clothing and stuff like that. I mean, there were some other things that we imported too, but for the most part, the United States could have cut itself off from the world and we'd have survived. We sold a lot of our stuff overseas. And everybody in the world bought it. Okay. After World War II, we turned around and said, you want to know something? We recognize that we have more money than any of yous. We recognize that we're in better shape than any of yous. So go ahead and charge us a little bit so that your country can make some money to help bring it back up. That was right after World War II. There was a time for that, for us to help the rest of the world out. Now there's not. Like that, there really isn't. Because all the other countries are doing good on their own, and they don't need to keep riding off of the backs of the United States people. It's time that all of those countries end their tariffs completely. End them, stop them, shut them down. There's no need for them anymore. And if I was Trump, that's what I would be arguing for. I would be turning around and saying, okay, I'm not going to do any trade with you until you drop your tariffs. Period. They're outdated now. Dump them. If you don't want to dump them and you're charging me a 20% tariff, I'm charging you a 20% tariff. You want to raise it to 40%? I'll raise mine to 40%. We'll play this game all day long. We have been generous to all of these countries long enough. To the point so we have screwed ourselves out of being self-sufficient. I know most of you have absolutely no clue what it means to be self-sufficient. This younger generation has no clue. Most of them live with mom and dad until they're in their 30s or 40s because they have absolutely no idea how to be self-sufficient. The United States needs to become self-sufficient. We need to make our steel here, our aluminum here. We need to make everything here in the United States again. And if we're going to bring it in from overseas, that's fine. But we're charging you the same tariff that you're charging us. Because that's what's right. So how do you get around those tariffs? Well, you get around those tariffs by moving your business back to the United States. You can still get some of your supplies from overseas if you want to. You're going to pay the tariff on them. Build here in the United States. Make it American made. Use American products. America first, period. That's what we were built on. That's the principle that we were built on. America first. So let's run a guideline of these tariffs. Is it a tax on the United States people? To a degree, yes, it is, because the businesses that are charged the tariff that price is going to be passed on to consumers, okay, which is going to raise the price of the product. Once that company moves to the United States and starts doing everything here in the United States, that tariff is gone. There is no tariff. So the price of those goods should go down. If they don't, then you go after the business, because if they're still charging you for a tariff that they're not paying, that's wrong, and we should be handling that. So that's the Republican side, tariffs. Okay, we'll charge these other company tariffs. It lowers taxes here in the United States, puts that up a little bit for a short term, till the company moves to the United States. It's short term. Here's your alternative. Every Democrat has done this, so you can't even argue that it's not. Every Democrat and all Democrats in office, currently and in the past, their solution always for big business is to raise the corporate tax rate. Oh my God, Donald Trump lowered the corporate tax rate. He's taking care of his buddies. Okay, here's how that shit works, you dum-dum. You charge the tax rate on the business. Okay, you're going to raise it from 26% to 40%, because that's where Democrats want to put it right now, is 40%. So you're going to turn around, you're going to raise it from 26% to 40%. Do you honestly sit there and think that business is paying that? Do you really think that business is going to be paying that? That business is not going to be paying it. That's going to be passed on to you, the consumer. So you are taxing yourself by raising the corporate tax rate on these businesses. Then you're going to turn around and you're going to put another tax on the top 1% income people in the United States who happen to own most of these businesses. So now you're double taxing them because they're rich. So they pass all of that on to you. So you've increased your own taxes. And then here's the kicker on the whole thing. That business turns around and goes, you know something? Mexico charges me a 16% tax rate. I can go down there, and instead of paying 1,000 employees at $26 an hour, I can go down there and hire 1,000 employees for $7 an hour. I'll still charge what the difference is. I'm still going to charge like I'm paying people $26 an hour. I'm still going to keep the added tax in there and charge for that. And then they're going to send their goods back to the United States, and you are going to pay that high price because you decided to tax the ever-living shit out of them. And you are the one that sent them out of the country, costing millions of Americans jobs. Okay. And by the way, you've also cost the country, by that happening, billions in tax revenue. How? Because now the company moved out of the country. So now you're not getting that 26% tax on the business. They fired 1,000 people at $26 an hour. So now you're not getting that income tax off of them 1,000 people at $26 an hour, which comes out to roughly about $6,000 to $7,000 per person per year. So now you've lost all that money for the United States because you wanted to keep taxing the ever living shit out of businesses and the wealthy. Option A, tax the ever living shit out of them, chase them out of the country, lose American jobs, lose tax revenue for the country, and increase your unemployment. Charge tariffs, force the company to move back to the United States, and the cost of the goods end up going down, and you're creating millions of jobs for Americans. I think I'll take the tariffs, because you're stupid if you went any other way. You can't defend raising the tax rate on businesses in the top 1%. You guys protest on this bullshit. You stand out here and, oh, we got to tax them. We got to tax them. We got to tax them. Them people are not going to lose their profit. They are the ones that are taking the chances, the personal chances of creating a business and hiring you so that you can earn an honest paycheck, so that you and most of these companies can get company paid health insurance, so that you can be a productive member of society. They're helping you out. I don't see you turning around and going and getting a loan for $500,000 or $2 million to start a fucking company. I don't see you taking that risk. You want to sit at home, keep living paycheck to paycheck, and you don't want to take that responsibility. Because now you're also going to have to watch out for other people. Democrats in this area are freaking stupid. And I mean, just dumb. There's no other way to put it. These tariffs are going to help the country. I'm okay with short-term paying on these tariffs. Long-term, I'm not. And that's what it would be if you turned around and taxed the businesses at the higher tax rate that Democrats want to do. And that's what's going to happen if you want to tax the 1%. It'll permanently be high for us and unaffordable. I'm going to move into another clip. I think this is my last clip. Also confronting one of the... This one is astonishing. Like, this one blows my mind. And we'll get into it right after. Okay, so it's not showing. Where did it go? Why is this not cooperating all of a sudden? Well, it's playing just fine, but I'll be damned if OBS is picking the thing up. Well, that's just retarded. So I guess we'll put it in media player. It's just not going to give the screen that I wanted. Oh, it's not picking up either. What the ever-living shit? See, here we go with these hiccups. Gotta love it. Here we go. excuse that. I have to put it in media player because it didn't want to play. So let's watch this 1 minute.
I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%, like nothing else. That's why I introduced the great health care plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost. Also ending.
Not one Democrat stood there. Not one. Now, why is this a big deal? Because the Democrats are clearly stating here that they want to continue to give your money, billions of dollars a year straight to the insurance companies that they can just piss it away and keep charging you high fucking prices and doing whatever it is that they're doing with it. Your premiums are soaring, your medical costs are soaring through the roof. Trump wants to turn around and end that and put the money in your pocket so that you can take that money and you can go to this place or that place and you have that money for your insurance. So instead of giving billions to the insurance companies, he wants to put it in your pocket to give you better choices, which guess what? Now the insurance companies aren't going to be getting that money. They're going to have to fight for everybody's service. So that means they're going to have to bring their prices down to compete with Joe's Insurance or whatever down the street. And it's going to bring shit down. And you are going to have the power to decide where you are going to go. Democrats don't want that. Why? Because look at most of the insurance companies for health insurance. They donate to Democrats. That's true. They donate to Democrats. So why wouldn't they want to line their pockets? At the same time, they're turning around and lying to you, to your face, and saying that this is the way it has to be in order for you to have cheap health care. But ever since ACA went into effect, it has done nothing but rise. Healthcare costs now are 4 times higher than what they were before this plan was put in place. If that doesn't set off a bell inside your head, you were absent the day God handed you brains. Let's go into this next clip.
The wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before.
So he's
Many
bringing them
Americans
down.
are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory so that no one's prices will go up. And in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you.
Now, this is very important because I know if you live in the state of Pennsylvania, our lovely governor, asshole Shapiro, turned around and signed an executive order because of all these data centers that are going in. PP&L and Pico and whoever else has to run new power lines. They're building new towers. They're putting new power lines in. They're putting, new substations in. They're doing all kinds of stuff to cater to these data centers. Why is this an issue? Well, because Shapiro signed an order here in Pennsylvania that PP&L can't charge the data centers for the upgrade. Now, if I request an upgrade to my house from a 100 amp service to a 200 amp service, guess who has to pay for that? That's on me. If you own your home, that's on you. You have to pay for that upgrade. For these data centers to turn around and require the upgrade that they're requiring, and the governor in this freaking state being okay with turning around and signing an executive order to pass that on to the people, is horseshit. It shouldn't be allowed in any way, shape, or form in any state. I don't care what it is. It should. If these data centers require this X amount of electricity and you've got to upgrade these lines and it's got to be upgraded for 20 miles, then that data center should be required to pay for it. My dad lives back in the woods and cable runs up the main road, but it doesn't run back into the woods to his place down the road that he's on. If he wants Comcast or whoever his cable provider is in that area to come out and upgrade and put a line in, guess what? He has to pay for it out of his pocket. And we looked at it. It's like $7,000 because he's going to pay for the lines to be ran. Now, that should be the same way with these data centers. If these data centers are putting in someplace and adding to the grid and causing issues, then that should be on the data centers to pay, not on us. I can tell you that since all these data centers started to go in the state of Pennsylvania and they have put all this extra cost on us, the people, to pay for these damn data centers, my electric bill went from $200 a month to $400 and some dollars a month. I know people that their electric bills now over $600 a month. I've had a couple that were that way. This is ridiculous. And then when you call PP&L about it, all they want to do is turn around and go, well, you can shop around for electric through these providers. You save a penny a kilowatt, maybe. It's a freaking joke. We need to do something about this power grid, though, too. I mean, it's an aging power grid, so we need to do something about the power grid, too. But these data centers that are going in all over the place to support this AI, that should be on the data center. 110% it should be on the data center. If you want to invest that kind of an investment, then you need to pay for the upgrade that it's going to require in order for that thing to run. Most of the states require them to pay for the upgrades on the roads that are happening in front of their facility or around their facility, so that the electric shouldn't be any different. Watch this next clip.
As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Now, that's a big one. Why is that a big one? It's a known fact. There's a guy on YouTube that follows Nancy Pelosi's trading. Okay. Nancy Pelosi, when she came into the office in the government, was only worth like $25,000 or $30,000, right? To this day, she's now worth over $300 million. She got rich off of you, the taxpayer. She got rich off of you. Government was never set up to be that way. It was not set up to be career politicians getting rich off of the taxpayer dime or off of inside information. This guy that I watch on YouTube, now I don't have the money to be able to put into it like he does. He's watched Nancy Pelosi's trading through the stock market. He's watched it for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. When she sells stuff, he sells it. When she buys something, he buys it. We're 6 years now of him doing this, and he's been able to retire. He's been able to quit. He's like 28 years old. He doesn't work no more. Because the amount of money that he has made off of the stock market by watching Nancy Pelosi's trading habits, it's exploded. How's she doing it? Because she's got inside information. A lot of these politicians have inside information. They're getting heads up on this moving or that moving, and they're hurrying up and they're transferring stocks or selling and buying, and they make a shit ton of money off of you. It shouldn't be allowed. And after that, Trump called Pelosi out, that she should have stood for everything, because there's a lot of Democrats that actually stood for this one. And the ones that didn't stand are the ones that that are playing that stock. Let's watch some more. Even more.
Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
So true. So true. And look, not a single Democrat standing at all. Not a single Democrat. And there's so many people that are attacking this and putting it down, and I got to turn around and say this. The Constitution states that the government's first responsibility is to take care of its American citizens. That's in the Constitution, people. That is our first obligation. Before any money goes overseas, before we send military out to help anybody out with anything, before we take care of anybody that's illegally crossed the border into this country, the first obligation of the government is to take care of its American citizens. If you can't stand in support of the freaking Constitution of the United States, you should not be a lawmaker. Every single Democrat that is sitting should lose their position immediately. Completely ridiculous to disregard the Constitution like that. What happened to you, Democrats? You started the Civil War because you didn't want the federal government overreaching on states' rights, and you didn't want to lose your slavery. You wanted to keep the original Constitution as it was. And now, here we are, 250 years later, and you don't have a damn clue what you stand for or what you want. Well, we know what you want. You want open borders. You want everybody to sing fucking Kumbaya and have a utopia of some sort. And you want to get rid of individual freedoms. Well, screw you, because it's not going to happen. This bullshit right here is if this continues, that will cost you the midterms. And rightfully so. Because after all the bullshit with Homeland Security being out in the streets and you know, these upsetting instances of these people challenging the law and ended up suffering the consequences of it. You know, it didn't look really good on Trump's cabinet. It didn't. A lot of confrontation was started that really didn't need to be started there, but a lot of that was also started because of the left and the sanctuary cities. So I won't dive down that hole again. If you can't stand in support of the Constitution of the United States, after you just cheered the Supreme Court for honoring the Constitution of the United States, you're a fucking idiot. It's anti-American, and you should deport yourself even if you are born here. Inexcusable.
Most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID. I just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card.
How ironic is that? If you want to shovel snow in the state of New York for the city to get the snow out of there, you have to show 2 forms of ID and a Social Security card to shovel snow. But you don't want to require anybody from showing identification to turn around and come in and vote to prove who they are. Are you kidding me? Like, you Democrats are I mean, you've lost your damn minds. I've touched on this on other shows, so I'm not going to dive deep into this. It's not hard. It's not hard. When you register to vote, you've got to take in your driver's license or state ID. Doesn't matter if it's a real ID or regular ID. Okay? You take your state ID in, a birth certificate, your Social Security card, and if you're married, you take your marriage license in. That's it. You walk in, you present those documents, you register to vote, you get a voter ID card, and when you show up to vote at the polling place, you have to show your state ID and that ID card. Stop saying that it's fucking racist. Stop. I know people of color that when they hear Democrats turn around and going, well, they don't know how to get an ID. They don't know how to get these documents. They can't afford these documents. You're basically calling these people stupid. You're being racist against them by thinking that because of the skin color that they have, that they can't figure out how to do stuff. That one Democratic politician, I forget what the hell her name is, turned around and said that, you know, part of the problem is because there's a lot of people of color that don't know what a computer is. What? Really? So because of their color, you're going to turn around and you're going to discriminate against them and treat them like they're stupid? And if you're a person of color, you're going to tolerate that? I mean, really? Are you kidding me? History lesson on the Democrats. They started the Civil War. They started the KKK. They assassinated presidents. They assassinated other people. I could dive down a whole other rabbit hole because I firmly believe that the Democratic Party is responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think that kid is being used as a pawn, and I think it was completely the Democrats that turned around and set that whole thing up. But I'm not going to dive down that right now. Voter ID is a popular subject right now amongst Republicans and Democrats. 84%, the last I seen, 84% of the American people, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, want voter ID. The other smaller percentage that's not really giving an opinion are all these fucking idiots that are out here protesting in the street, doing all the stupid rioting and breaking laws and everything else. Those are the ones that don't want voter ID. Why don't they want voter ID? Because they want all these illegal aliens to be allowed into the country. They want all of them to be able to vote so that they can get their leftist agenda passed and create a socialist country. What it all boils down to. And we have to fight like hell to keep that element out of our politics and out of our government agencies. It has to stay out. I'll continue on with this, but I think this stops here.
Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good.
Stupid microphone. So they don't want voter ID. They don't want it. But you've got to have two forms of identification and a social security card in order to shovel snow in New York. You got to have identification to get on a plane. You got to have identification to buy cigarettes. You got to have identification to buy vape. You got to have identification to buy paint. You got to have identification to buy prescription drugs. Got to have an identification to buy some cleaners for your bathroom and your kitchen and shit in grocery stores. It asks for a damn ID so that you can buy that stuff. So you got all of these things that you need an ID for. And Democrats don't want you to have an ID to vote. The writing's on the wall as to why. I mean, it really is. It's right there. You really shot yourselves in the foot, Democrats, because a polling that came out after the State of the Union, prior to the State of the Union, Trump's approval ratings were like 42%. It wasn't that high. It wasn't bad. I mean, Biden's when he went out was, less than 31%. I think it was like 28 or something like that. So Trump's was like 42, 43, somewhere in there. He went from that rating to after the State of the Union, 64% of Americans approve of everything he said at the State of the Union. Now, here's where numbers start to get out of hand for Democrats. Out of independents polled, because your independents are the ones that are going to vote Democrat and swing the election that way. Out of your independents, just independents that were polled, the last little poll I seen, I have it on my phone. I can't put it up on the computer right now. The last poll I seen out of just independents, 58% of independents turned around and said that that after this State of the Union, Trump has their support. How are you going to win the midterms? You just shot yourself in the foot. You just showed that you're for higher taxes. You just showed that you want open borders, that American citizens don't matter to you. You're against everything positive you're against low gas prices. You're against businesses coming back to the United States. You're against all this shit. And for what? For what? This is going to sink you, Democrats. And I really hope that I really hope that enough people wake up to see this. Current numbers right now shows that if the midterms happen right now, right this very second, Republicans would lose the House but retain the Senate. We got work to do to keep these nutcases out of power come the midterms. Democrats, you've lost your way. Used to be one. Hello. I voted for Clinton and Obama. I wish I'd never have done it because they didn't. I mean, they deported people like I wanted them to, but they didn't do anything else they said they were going to do. It's time to keep Democrats out with the way that they've gone. If you Democrats want to return to the Democratic Party of JFK, you might get my support again. But until then, you're lost. We don't want to be forced into this transgender ideology bullshit either. Which you keep pushing. We don't want all these socialist programs that you keep creating. Which brings me to one last point that I'm going to bring up because I'm going to do another video on it another time, so I'm not going to dive too deep now. But welfare system needs to be returned to a work for welfare. Needs to be returned to a work for welfare. It's how it was created. The welfare system in this country was created as a work for welfare. You had to work for the government 30 hours a week in order to receive cash assistance or help with food. Back then, you got food vouchers. They would have you go out and pick up trash. They would have you wash government vehicles. They did all kinds of stuff, but you had to work 30 hours a week in order to get your food voucher and cash assistance. And then you had to show that you were trying to find a job for, I believe it was another 15 hours a week. So you had to dedicate 45 hours a week between working for the government and looking for a job. We're spending too much money. We're creating too many socialist programs. Nothing is free, people. Nothing is free. It costs somebody. And then we get into redistribution of monies, which is a violation under the Constitution. Don't want to go down that road. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties. It's a first live run. Hopefully it went well. If you're watching this not live and you see issues, shoot me some comments. We're going to start opening it up here too. Do a couple more here to get some bugs worked out. We're going to start opening it up to having guests on. So if you're interested in coming on Freedom Uncensored, feel free to shoot us an email. Comment on the show. Get in touch with us somehow. Get on our Facebook page. But we're more than welcome to we're more than willing to have anybody on. I don't care what side you're on. I don't care if you're an independent. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care what side you're on. Let's sit down and have some open dialogue, because I promise you that if we sit down and we have honest dialogue without the Trump derangement syndrome or any other bullshit in it, we'll actually find out that we have more in common than what we don't. And we could probably come to middle ground on a lot of different things. So, with that, I'm open for debate if you're open for debate. Send us a message, send us an email, let us know, come on the show. We'll talk. Have a good one, everybody.